Welcome to Jumping Bomb Audio.
Welcome back, everyone, to Jumping Bomb Audio, the podcast all about the world of Joshi wrestling. My name is Taylor, and I am joined, as always, here by my co-host, Kelly. Kelly, how's it going?
I am ready for everything to go perfectly and for the recording to not destroy itself somehow. And Zencaster, you better behave.
We live in perpetual fear that one of these weeks I'm going to have to tweet out, we made a great episode that was sent into the vortex and will never be heard by anyone.
Yeah, just imagine the best possible episode we could have, and that's it. That's the one that there was.
Yes, that is the guarantee that I will hit the stop recording button. I'll go, that's the best episode we've ever done. And the system will go, we didn't record it. I guess I also live in fear of not hitting the record button, but
yeah,
I'm pretty good with that. I've got some practice on that one. So
I also never want to drop like some really good points and have some good hot takes, and then I look and I've been muted the whole time. That's also a fear.
I think on a two-person podcast, if you were muted, it would come out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
As one person sits and talks to themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think? Oh, they're not there. I'll just keep talking. Well, speaking of our Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter at JBombAudio. You can follow me on my personal Twitter, Taymambo, or Kelly on his at Comic Geek Kelly. You can also subscribe and follow the show on your favorite podcast app. And if that favorite podcast app is Apple Podcasts, we ask you please give us a 5-star rating and review. It would really help. And if you really want to be helpful, you can donate to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumpingbomaudio. And we are going to get right into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to lead off talking about the Ice Ribbon Korakuen Hall show from this weekend that just happened on the 18th.
Oh my God, it's not Stardom. Thank you, Lord.
We're then going to dive into Stardom, though, and cover all the action from the last 2 weeks of the very busy Star Grand Prix, and also cover what's coming up. And of course, as always, we'll cover everything in between, everything that's happened in the past 2 weeks, and all of the shows that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. So we'll start right away. Ice Ribbon had their most recent Korakuen Hall show, Ice Ribbon 1145 Ribbon no Kishi at Korakuen Hall in front of 319 fans. First of all, Kelly, overall, what'd you think of the show?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty solid show. And then like the main event happened and I was like, all right, cool. This show fucking rocks.
I was about the same. I think maybe I was a little bit higher on the show before that than you. I have one match that I really enjoyed that we'll talk about in a second. But I also agree, a really strong main event, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot when we get there. But
can we talk about just Nico and what the fuck was going on in the beginning of this show with the countdown or the clock in the corner, and then the one camera had the weird lines? Did you get that on your version?
I don't think I did get that. I did not have that. Mine, I mean, Nico is sort of what Nico is at this point, where I found during, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, during the chain match, that it was I have fairly good internet, I think. It usually streams very well, and I have no problems. I cannot stream Nico quality-wise above anything better than, like, I can make out the ring and the wrestlers, And it was like, it's a chain match. And oftentimes I was like, I cannot tell in the ring where the chains are.
Oh Jesus! I was able to. This is the best streaming quality I've probably ever had for Nico. Like I got it up to the 1 MB, what, like, because they have the weird, like, it's never like how like Stardom does it where it's like 360p, 540p, whatever. Theirs is like 384 and then like 1 MB and 2 MB. I had mine at 1 MB, and that was like the best I've ever had it, where it's like I can actually like make out faces and things. Like it looked all right.
Yeah, I usually have to sit at 384 because I try and go up, and the minute I go up, it's like it's just going to buffer every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And
It
so,
started going okay, and I just did not touch anything. I just left I didn't touch the laptop, I didn't touch the mouse. I was like, cool, it's working. I'm not going to mess with it at all. If I have to get up, I'm going to do it in between matches because I'm not pausing.
yeah, and it's also, I know a couple months ago, Ice Ribbon had one of their Korakuens on, I don't remember which streaming service it was, but it was outside of Nico. And I remember it went so well, and the quality was really good. And they were even advertising, like when they were selling the show, they were like, hey, we're going to be on this streaming service, this pay-per-view service, whatever it's called, and the quality is going to be better than Nico. And then seemingly I think maybe they've had one other show on there, but they haven't really gone back. And I'm like, that worked out so well. I don't know, maybe monetarily it didn't make any sense, but I
Maybe.
was like, that's what I want. Like the quality was good. It was really like everything worked well. I had no issues. And that was a show I think I live
Oh wow.
streamed as it was happening. And
Okay.
I was like, this is really good. And then they were like, back to Nico. And I was like,
Ugh.
okay.
Yeah, so like for the first couple of matches on on the stream I watched on Nico, they, like, the floor camera had in the upper right hand corner there was a little clock counting up, so I assume it was on the camera, like how much they had recorded that day. And then on like any really like white thing, like if the light shined on a wrestler's skin, or like if the ring mat where there are white parts, there was just these little like black lines going down it, almost like it looked like the pattern on like a referee's shirt. It was so obnoxious. And then like I think they realized something was wrong, because then there was a couple matches in the middle where they did not use that camera and it was hard cam only. And then I think around the chain match, I want to say it was, they went back to using the camera at the ringside too. Or so no, it was before the IW19 title match. So like there was something wrong with that camera, and they finally figured out what it was and then sent him back out or something.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, now that you say that, I think I did see the numbers in the corner, but I think I just sort of was like, it's like whatever. And that didn't really bother me. But I don't know that I saw the lines.
Yeah,
Um,
they were weird. Like I don't know if it was just like there was something up, because it was only with that one camera. But Nico, always doing good.
yes, but I think the lesson is, and as we just said, we both like the show, wish it was on slightly better service
Yeah.
where you could probably convince more people. I think it's very hard generally to convince people to watch things on Nico.
Oh yeah, I can't like tell any of my friends to be like, "Hey, okay, here's what you do to watch this show."
Yeah, you go in and you buy points, and you'll end up with more points than you need. So you'll always have like 100 extra points that won't do you any good.
Oh my god, I almost bought the wrong show. I stopped myself from being the angriest person in the world,
Oh
cuz
man.
I guess they have a show like tomorrow that's happening.
Yes,
And I
yeah.
almost pressed purchase on that one instead, and I was like, "Wait a minute. It's cheaper than it was before. Hold on a sec." I looked at the day, I'm like, "No, no, no, you can't trick me."
But anyway, the wrestling itself, the first match, Sayori Ano and Suzu Suzuki defeated Akane Fujita and Mochi Miyagi in 9 minutes and 10 seconds. Kelly, what'd you think of this opening match?
I thought it was good. Like, it was a really good opener. I really, really like Suzu and Saori as a tag team. They're a lot of fun. Did you know that Saori Ano is currently playing Catwoman in a Batman Ninja stage play?
I think I had seen that somewhere. I think when it was initially, maybe when it was initially announced, I saw it. I don't remember when, but yes, that does sound that does sound familiar.
I'm really just fascinated by the popularity of Batman Ninja in Japan because, like, they tried once here, like, they brought over the movie and did a lackluster job at that because the translation of it, they didn't even actually have, like, the script. So they just kind of guessed what everyone was saying. So, but like, it's still like big over in Japan. They're still doing stuff with it, but they just don't even bother to bring any of it over here anymore.
The only Batman sort of Japanese Batman stuff I know of is the when they did the manga,
Oh hell yeah, the '60s
which
manga.
I have.
That
But
stuff
what is I
rocks.
don't even know what Batman Ninja is. Is it just Batman who's a ninja as well?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's Batman and like the samurai era kind of stuff, and they did a movie, like an anime, and then they brought it over here, like I said, and they barely tried with the adaptation of it, and it's still going strong. Like, last I saw, they were doing like a weekly manga of it, and there was a giant mech suit Joker running around. So they're having fun with it, and now they're doing that stage play.
Interesting. Although it's also not unusual to see a lot of these Joshi wrestlers do stuff like that because there are, actress girls is the big one, but you know, there is an element of sort of acting.
Yeah,
I feel like more common than like in men's, you know, wrestling in Japan to have these, sort of like acting side, actress girls. They have Makai is a
yeah. I was
big
gonna say
one.
Makai is the whole that kind of thing too.
And I feel like this is not the first time that I've seen like one of the wrestlers is like, oh, I'm also in this separate show at the same time. I mean, I know
Yeah,
she was injured. I don't know if that affected her being in the show, but
yeah. I
um,
don't know.
yeah. But I agree with you. I thought it was a fun match. I also really like Suzu Suzuki, and I think Ice Ribbon has done a really good job. She lost the title last year. Obviously, last year was the big year for her. She was really the main focus of a major storyline of the company. Won the title, and then lost the title. And I think it'd be very. You might expect that she moves back down the card, and the thought is, oh, she'll just go do sort of whatever. She's gotten this title reign to establish herself, and then will come back to her later. But it has felt to me, I feel like they've done a really good job of sort of keeping her as a sort of quote unquote main character of the promotion. Like she still feels, even though this is the opening match of this show, it has felt over the past few months that she still feels very vital to the promotion, even though she doesn't have the title. She had the hardcore series. She's now in this tag team. So I think that they've done a really good job sort of keeping her momentum going and not losing it from last year.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a really like underrated thing of a company where it's like you need to keep your top people still doing something even when they're not in the main event picture. And yeah, no, they've done a great job of that with Suzu, giving her the hardcore stuff, and now like, all right, cool, now you have a tag team. Here you go. And it doesn't feel forced. Like, it works really well. They have great chemistry.
Yeah, and I think that is a strength, obviously in this case, but with Ice Ribbon as a whole, I think that that is one of their strengths that they do very well in creating these sort of stories that keep these wrestlers feeling important even when they're not, fighting for a title in the immediate future or, at a current show. There's a number of people who like Maya Yukihi, some people in other, it might be like, oh, you're off to the tag, oh, you had the title, singles title, now you're off to the tag division and you'll sort of just hang out there. But she has felt still important, Risa Sera has felt important. Obviously, Suzu, as we just talked about. So I think they've done an admirable job with that, while also debuting new people and also having these title programs.
Man, what a well-booked promotion. Like, I haven't really thought about it that hard, but man, good work.
It's a promotion that I sort of, I'm glad that we're talking about it now, because I often feel like these shows happen to either fall on, like the day that we're recording, so we don't have time to watch it, or they happen and then they air on Samurai a week and a half later, and by that point they're already sort of old news. So I'm really happy to have this show to talk about, because I think they are a promotion that I wish was talked about more, because I think that they have done a good job and they deserve eyeballs on what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
The second match of the show was an 8-person tag. Asahi, Miku Aono, Natsumi, and Saran defeated Bani Okawa, Cherry, Totoro Satsuki, and Yappy. This was a match I thought was fun. It's so funny to me that I have seen Natsumi wrestle now a number of times. She's been in Ice Ribbon for a little bit. But for some reason in my head, I cannot get a mental image of like a different wrestler. I guess it's because Natsumi Maki is like small. Yeah. So I'm like, Natsumi must be a small wrestler. And she's obviously not in terms of her height, she's not a small wrestler. And I always see her and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what she looks like. And that's just sort of a side point, having nothing to do with the quality of the match. I thought that the match was really fun. Natsumi getting the victory over Yappy, which was exciting. But, this is sort of the opener of the show. The first match on this show had some big names in it, so it's a little bit different. But this was sort of like a get some people on the card, get some experience for these younger wrestlers. So I thought it was solid, but nothing really major going on here.
I was surprised to see Natsumi like pick up the win, because she's still pretty new, isn't she?
Yeah, she is new, but I think she has the Aja Kong backing.
Yeah, that's true.
Sort of behind her, and I think that it's always interesting because she's coming from. She's a
I was gonna say
0-1 trainee.
0-1, yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't watch all that much 0-1. I watch maybe 1-0-1 show a year, which is usually their New Year's show. So I don't really know how their booking works, but it could be that, they debut her, they think she's good, and they're like, hey, we want to, start boosting her up the card because we don't want to wait. It's just sort of a different promotions have different strategies, and maybe their strategy is like, hey, we don't want to be sitting on this person for a year or whatever, having them lose all these matches. Let's try and, see what happens. I don't know. That could be it, or it could just be a one-off, give her a win in this sort of small match. But we'll have to see. And, I'm expecting that she'll be coming back often. She already has been.
Yeah, because I think the only match I've seen of her is in 0-1 was her debut against Aja Kong earlier this year, and everything else I've seen of her is from Ice Ribbon.
Well, yeah, because 0-1 doesn't have any other. They don't have any other female.
Not really.
wrestlers on the roster. I mean, Aja Kong, but you can't just run that match every.
And then like Asuka, but she doesn't really wrestle women for the most part in that company.
So it's one of those things where they almost have to go out and get experience elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's like the people who are in 2AW, because that's a very similar thing where I feel like the 2AW people just wrestle everywhere else, and I never hear any discussion about their matches in their home promotion.
No. No, that's very true.
So, yeah. But overall, I thought a strong showing from everyone, but just nothing, nothing sticking out here for me.
No, I think Saran still needs work, but she's like a literal child, so there's plenty of time there.
Yeah, a literal child, and also still fairly new,
Yeah.
still fairly young. And I would assume would be in this position because she's so young for at least a little while longer. I don't think she'll be like Natsumi picking up victories
Yeah, I do
in the
enjoy
near
that her gear
future.
is just like, I got some sweet cargo pants.
The third match, and technically the third and fourth matches on the card, were Aja Kong against Yuki Mashiro. Aja Kong winning in 10 seconds with a lockup. Um, there was some discussion after the submission in a lockup after 10 seconds. The match was restarted. The gotcha belt, I believe, was put on the line, and Aja Kong won again in 2 minutes and 46 seconds. They tried to give her the gotcha belt that she had technically won, and she rejected it. So Kelly, what did you think? What did you think of this Aja Kong match?
I thought this was a lot of fun. The initial tap out is what I've thought many times if I was like, in the era of Teddy Long being the GM on SmackDown, being like, you get to face The Undertaker. I'd be like, yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to tap out in 10 seconds. Cool, we're done. All right, bye. Have a good main event. But yeah, no, I thought that was brilliant. I love that. And then just the end with Aja Kong being like, I don't want your shitty belt.
Yeah, I thought this was, the sort of Aja Kong versus overwhelmed rookie is sort of a staple of Joshi. I think in the past, I've sort of, all these promotions do them. They sort of all happen the same way. You sort of have the plucky rookie who takes it to Aja Kong at the beginning. They get a little offense, and then Aja Kong wins pretty easily at the end. So I enjoyed that this was sort of a sidestep of that sort of thing. Took me by surprise when the submission happened in 10 seconds. I was like, oh, this is different. What's happening? And then they had a very quick match. So, it's only in combined ring time between quote unquote two matches, less than 3 minutes. So hard to really say a lot, but I thought it was fun. A little lighthearted match before we got into the more sort of serious title matches on the top of the card.
I really enjoyed the referee explaining to Aja Kong that the tap out happened. She's like, wait, what? Yeah, no, she tapped out.
The fourth, I'll count it as the fourth match. The first of the title matches was the IWGQ title match, where Sakushi Haruka defeated Hamika Hoshi to win back the IWGQ title in 10 minutes and 56 seconds. This is a match I thought was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I think Sakushi is perennially one of the most underrated wrestlers in all of Joshi, really in all of wrestling. I think she's really good. She has really fun offense, and I think that she's very good at having good matches with a variety of different opponents. She doesn't need to have, a certain style, her own style of match. She's very good at sort of fitting in her offense, fitting in her style around a number of different opponents. She had the match with Nanae Takahashi at their big show, which I thought was really good. And of course, this match, I went 4 stars on this match. I just thought it was a lot of fun. I went in expecting a good match, and it really still managed to impress me. And so I thought it was a really, really strong match, and up to this point, the best match on the show.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I went 3.5. Sakushi is just nuts because it's like she just goes so hard in every match, and it's like you get like, okay, I need a transitional move. I know, shoot headbutt. Like, just she's the last wrestler I'd ever want to wrestle, but she's so much fun to watch because she's just always go, 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 destroy my opponent and myself in every way possible. I think Sakushi would fit in the dumb jock wrestler category.
Yes, she she may. I never really I never thought about it, and it's always harder with wrestlers that aren't native English speakers, because I do not speak I speak a little Japanese, but I don't read any Japanese. So it's a little hard to, tell the personality, but she does sort of have, I think she may be a little bit too, she has sort of like a devilish side.
Yes, she's like if Ibushi was always in murder mode. Like, that's what I always think of Sakushi. She's just stuck in that, and she's just going to destroy everything in her path.
Yeah, and I wish that, it's one of these things where Ice Ribbon is very sort of now they're sending some people to CMLL coming up, which is sort of the way CMLL is going is a little bit of nothing.
Yeah.
As that ship seems to be like, every time I look, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happening with CMLL. And it's like 10 bad things have happened. Like, I looked at Twitter yesterday for 1 second, and it was like Ultimo Guerrero went in the crowd to fight a celebrity, but the cameramen didn't have the rights to air the celebrity's face on TV, so they had to just shoot an empty ring while Ultimo Guerrero like shot his own angle in the crowd with some celebrity. I'm like, wow, CMLL, every time I look, something weird is happening.
Yeah, no, initially when you said some were going to CMLL, I'm like, that's cool. And then I thought about it for half a second and was like, oh, okay, no, maybe not.
And it's like, you'd love to get them, I don't know, just a wider, Ice Ribbon is so good. You'd like to bring people to Ice Ribbon, but also a way to do that would be to get some of these people out. I always say now we have the AEW connection, although there's so many, this. Emi Sakura's there, and there's all this political things. But I mean, some of these wrestlers, I mean, especially sort of higher up, someone like Maya Yukihi, Risa Sera, Rina Yamashita, Tekla, I think. Really, a lot of these people at the top end of the card, I think, would fit sort of their presentation style really well.
Yeah.
It's sort of the serious, not totally serious, because obviously Ice Ribbon can do sort of wacky things, as we saw with the Aja Kong match, but it sort of is a more leaning serious, these are wrestlers, first, they're willing to do things, they have these hardcore matches and things like that. So it really strikes me as sort of a similar sort of vibe to what AEW can do. So I wish some of these wrestlers could come over and sort of hopefully draw some eyeballs to Ice Ribbon. But until that happens, I'll continue to just say Sakushi is one of the best wrestlers in the world. And, the people who watch the promotion, most of them will agree with me, and the people who don't will be sadly ignorant of what they're missing.
100% agreed.
The next match, another title match, was the Fantastic Ice title match, which was a chain attack only hardcore match between the champion, Rina Yamashita, and Tekla. Rina Yamashita defeating Tekla in 12:53. This was an interesting one. Kelly, what did you think of this match?
I have in my notes here that I feel like the match was more interesting than it was good. And I liked the match, I will say that. But I feel like it was just more interesting to watch them figure out different ways to use the chains in the match. Because, like, when you say chain match at first, I'm like, okay, cool, they're going to be attached. And then there's just a whole bunch of random chain links on the ground. And they're like, okay, what if we throw them in a pile? Okay, what if we just, like, wrap our arms in them and, like, wrap our feet up and let me put you in a submission with this one. Like, it was fun kind of watching them figure out how to do the match almost as it went. And the stipulation of you could only win with some sort of chain involvement was interesting too, because there was like one or two times where someone went for a roll up and the ref went to go count it and he's like, oh, nope, you didn't use the chain, can't count this one.
Yeah, I thought it was sort of an odd stipulation. It's not my favorite stipulation. I thought that they sort of worked well within the confines of this, chain match. But when I hear like chain match, it's sort of, I think it's one of those stipulations where it's a stipulation where you think, oh, that's hard, using a chain, that's hardcore, that's going to be crazy. But I think in ways it sort of holds the match back because there isn't a ton of build to it. It's like, I'm attacking you with a chain, and later in the match, I'm also attacking you with a chain. It's sort of like a tables match where it's like you have to put your opponent through the table, which sounds like, oh, that's going to be crazy. Someone's going to go through a table, and then you realize that most of the match is going to be people not going through tables. So it was I thought it was well worked, but I just thought it was I think they probably have a better match in them with a slightly different stipulation where they could sort of go bigger. Obviously, Yamashita is more than capable of doing that. And I think Tekla has been a low key, maybe not MVP, but has been very important for this promotion, constantly challenging for titles, having these good matches. She had a great match with Sakushi earlier this year. I was not surprised to see her lose this match, but I was sort of bummed. I would love to see her sort of win a title because I think that she's had a very strong year. She does have the WUW title, which is hers, but would love to see her sort of win one of these big challenges because she's gotten a lot and she hasn't come out victorious. So overall, sort of solid, but especially in terms of the other, Fantastic Ice title matches, and of course all the Suzuki sort of hardcore matches, which are sort of in this like ice ribbon hardcore category. It wouldn't have been near the top for me.
Yeah, no, it was a real weird match. It really felt like the kind of match where it was in someone's like EFED or something, and they challenged someone else. Like, all right, let's see what you can do with this stipulation.
Yeah, it's just a stipulate. Yeah, I think I agree. It's just a stipulation that seems like there's not really much we can do here. I mean, the Splash Mountain on the chain at the end, which was the finish, looked great, but it was sort of like I've also seen many other things with the chain in this match that were fairly cool, but they're all with the chain and they're all sort of like, oh, okay, it's a chain,
Yeah.
a pile of chains. The semi-main event, another title match, the International Ribbon Tag Team title match, Azure Revolution, Maya Yukihei and Risa Sera defeating their Rebel and enemy stablemates, Micah Ozaki and Ram Kaichou in 17:45. Kelly, what did you think of this match?
I like this a lot. It was a really good semi-main. I went 3 3/4 on it. One thing that really stuck out to me in the early going is like how much the giant swing has become a big part of Risa Sera's offense, to the point where like she went for the crab, and you could see she almost teased that she was going for the swing, and you kind of almost heard the crowd go like, "Oh!" And then she went for the crab, and like it's fun how much that's become like a real big part of her, because she's got a real good big like giant swing. Like she looks like she is almost gonna throw people out of the ring with it.
Yeah, and she's got, I mean, the giant swing, but also I think she's got great offense. I think she's one of the sort of unsung heroes of the promotion. I thought that
Totally.
this match was pretty good. I think I was a little bit lower than you. I probably would have gone 3.5 because I think the finish didn't quite get to sort of the level that I thought it was capable of. They sort of picked it up, and I was like, oh, this is getting pretty good, but it never really got to that sort of next level for me, especially considering the talent in it. I thought there were some issues with some things with Micah Ozaki, who I think is really good, but had some minor struggles here.
I think she might
But
have gotten her bell wrong at one point in the match, because there was a bit where they'd like where Azure Revolution do like the double knee drops onto her, and Yukihei's knee like connected directly with Ozaki's forehead. So my guess is she got her bell wrong.
oh yeah, and that could be. And again, it wasn't major. It wasn't like match stopping. Like, oh my god, what did they
Yeah.
do? But it was sort of things where it was like, as you're like ramping up, you sort of want. It's like we're picking up speed, and you want things to be smooth. And there were a couple of things where I was like, not exactly smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there was a bit where it kind of was just, it wasn't clicking right.
But again, I went 3.5, so I was only a little bit behind you. I still think a solid match, solid semi-main event, I should say, as well. So overall, before the main event, a solid show. And as I said in the beginning, I think I was a little bit higher on the IWGQ title match than you, so I think that really helped me in the undercard. I was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty solid show. And then, of course, we had the main event, the Ice Infinity title match. Tsukasa Fujimoto defending against Ibuki Hoshi and emerging victorious in 21 minutes and 3 seconds. I know I have a lot to say about this match. Kelly, what do you think?
Hell yeah, this was awesome. I love a good just chop battle, and these two went for it and beat the hell out of each other. Like, both of their chests were beat up, but Fujimoto's just looked so red, and it looked like it hurt so bad. I actually bit on a bunch of the near falls. I really kind of thought for a bit that Hoshi was going to pull this one out. I'm not gonna lie, I was real confused for a sec when Hoshi was ripping Fujimoto's top off to chop her more, and like to the point where it looked like the referee and everyone else was pretty confused by it too. Like they gave the ref a shirt just in case something happened. But yeah, I went 4.5. I loved it.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I went 4.5. I also thought, I don't know, speaking of, we talked about the video file earlier. They had the moment when they rolled out of the ring.
Yes, it just went dark. That's right.
Okay. I couldn't tell if it was that the Korakuen Hall had gone dark or they cut the feed, because I was still hearing
the
announcers and I was like, oh, what's going on? Did they lose the feed? Or I'm like, is something happening where they're like, we can't show this? But then they cut back and it seemed like nothing really had happened.
It really seemed like everyone thought that Hoshi started shooting on Fujimoto and tried to rip her clothes off.
It was the same thing where it happened, and then I was like, wait, what's going on? And then the ref came up with the other shirt, and which was thrown into the crowd, and I was like, wow, what is happening? But I agree. Fujimoto's chest near the end looked like she had a big sunburn, like a really bad sunburn on her chest. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I will say, as someone who has come on this podcast and talked about, I'm like, oh, back and forth, strike battles are overused. They're not my thing. I thought that this was great. And just if you look at the difference between this, especially because they did it so much.
Yeah. When it's like the main focal point of the match, rather than it's just a thing we put in the middle because this is what we do.
But also the difference between we're going to do elbows and it's going to be elbow, and then you have to be oh, I'm losing my balance. So it's strike, wait, strike. Yeah. And you're like, okay. This one was chop, 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 back, forth. I mean, I think also, even the way Hoshi throws her chops, I think looked really good.
Yeah.
It really looks like she puts her all behind it. I mean, she's swinging both her arms to do it. I was like, this looks great. I think it's told a fun story of sort of Hoshi using these chops to sort of take Fujimoto off her game, but Fujimoto still sort of winning. There were a couple of near falls, but I think Fujimoto still winning sort of decisively with the Ocean Cyclone Suplex. So as I said, I went 4.5. There was a time earlier in the year when Fujimoto had just gotten the title, when she was having all these title matches, and everyone, I was like, this one is good, this one is good, this one is good. And I was like, Fujimoto is just going to have good title matches all year and be a runaway wrestler of the year in Joshi. The middle of the year, some of her title matches have not sort of gotten to that level for me. But this one was one that was right back up there with yes, these are the good title matches she was having at the beginning of the year. I thought this one was great. I mean, clearly 4.5 stars. So a great cap to the show that really, obviously helped by the main event, I thought was a really great show.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. Like that's the thing I really like about Ice Ribbon is I can watch their shows and all the way through it's good. Like there's no point where I'm just like, ugh, it's this person, or like, all right, this one's gonna be a stinker. Like everything's good at minimum. So I was very happy with this show, and yeah, that main event is awesome. Definitely seek it out if you know how Nico works. Or if you can
Yeah, and
find a
it's
way around
yeah,
Nico.
it's on Nico, I think, until the September 25th. So you can still buy the on-demand video of it, whatever they call it. But yeah, definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of Ice Ribbon. I mean, I think I like Ice Ribbon so much because I've talked about on the show in the last few weeks a number of times about that I am someone who really likes, I'm really into variety, you know, and Ice Ribbon to me, it's the promotion that has the most variety within their own shows, you know, not just from show to show, but looking at this card, you have the IWGQ title match, which was sort of a little bit high speed, counters and things. Then the next one is a hardcore chain match, then a tag match, and then you sort of have the big hard hitting main event, like four very different sort of styles of match. All big title matches all feel very different to me in my mind, which I think is really great.
Yeah, and they're not afraid of like just fucking nonsense either. Like at every couple of months there's an Ice Ribbon match where I'll watch it and it'll be like someone talking for 20 minutes and then they go and try and hit a piñata and whoever eats the cake out of the piñata first wins, and I go to you, I'm like, what the hell just happened? And you're like, I don't know either.
But also that they're sort of nonsense. Like last year with the Suzu story, the whole, you know, and Fujimoto like running around trying to find her, and, you know, she was leaving these notes. And it's like
Yes.
there is an element of sort of wackiness to that, but then it can all of a sudden turn into this very sort of smart, like the whole thing was like, where is she? What is she doing? It's like she's off trying to figure out a counter to this move that beats everyone. I'm like, that's a smart story to tell, sort of separate from the wackiness of like, I have a move that's really good. People can't seem to defend it or can't kick out of it. And I am someone who's going to face you, and I need to figure out a way to. It's sort of an underused story. Now, of course, you can't use it for every match, but I feel like it's an underused story, but it's very smart. So there is an element of smartness even in this, even in the more wacky, you know, some things are totally off the, you know,
Oh yeah.
off the reservation. They're like, oh, we have hot dog, you know, we're
Like
bringing in hot dogs.
the 48-hour long baseball match or whatever the hell that was
Yeah.
last summer.
But a lot of things can sort of split that thing between, oh, some of this is wacky, but some of it also is very smart and it's, you know, well thought out and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the booking for this company is excellent. Like, am I safe to assume that's Fujimoto?
I think it is. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more. I don't know if it's more than her.
Booker
If
of
it's
the
like
year.
some sort of committee. But that's what I've always understood.
Yeah, no, whoever's doing it is great. Like they well plot out stories, just awesome stuff, and like you said, great variety on the cards. Like I love a good big Ice Ribbon show.
Well, that is our glowing review of Ice Ribbon, and now we move on to, as we've done the past few episodes, we are in the home stretch of the 5-star Grand Prix. A lot of matches, a lot of shows happening recently in Stardom. Lots of 5-star Grand Prix matches. They had their Korakuen on the 6th. That happened the day that our last episode dropped, so we didn't get to cover that. Then they also had shows on the 11th, the 12th, the 16th, and one that just happened recently this weekend on the 18th. Won't go through all the results of those matches, but the main events, Himika defeating Momo Watanabe on the 11th, Saya Kamatani defeating Maika On the 12th, Suri defeating Tom Nakino. On the 16th and on the 18th, Starlight Kid defeating Himika. A lot of interesting, fun matches up and down these cards. As I said, there's a lot to cover, so we won't go too in depth on these. But a lot going on, and we are going to do a deep dive into the standings and what is coming up, as they have 3 final 5-star Grand Prix shows coming up this week. So that will all be in our upcoming shows. But before we get to the rest of Joshi, this episode of Jumping Bomb Audio is sponsored by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. You know, HelloFresh, it's very easy to order. They have very good flexibility. You can customize your order. They have an app, and you can do it within minutes. You can change what day you get your food, what kind of food preferences you have, how much food you want, or if you need, you can skip a week whenever you need to. And coming up, very exciting, I know here in New York, where I am, starting to feel a little like fall. It's getting a little colder. The sun is going down a little bit earlier every day, and the fall harvest is officially on with HelloFresh. Count on seasonal recipes like pumpkin cinnamon rolls and Friendsgiving ready sides, as well as fresh, high-quality ingredients that travel from the farm to your front door in less than a week. So you're getting great quality, fresh food from HelloFresh. I know for me, HelloFresh is very helpful. I don't consider myself a cook, not very good at things like that, but HelloFresh is great. They give you exactly what you need. They give you very easy to follow recipes, and it's easy to make. It makes me feel like a chef, even though I am not super talented in that department. So if you are a little bit scared about cooking, HelloFresh is the perfect thing for you. And we have a great offer. Go to HelloFresh.com/VOW14 and use code VOW14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/VOW14 and use code VOW14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That is HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Taylor, where do you fall on pumpkin stuff? Are you a pumpkin guy?
I am a pumpkin guy. I like pumpkin. I'm not a huge pumpkin pie guy. Like if you were like you could have any sort of pie that you want, I would probably choose apple pie.
Yeah.
I even like a good cherry pie, but I do like pumpkin pie. But I like pumpkin. I don't drink coffee really ever, but I have occasionally gotten a very cliche pumpkin spice latte from time to time. So I like pumpkin. Do you like pumpkin?
I do.
Is this a leading question?
No,
Okay.
I do like pumpkin, but I also like that there is like a driving force this year to bring apple to the forefront, because I do love apple flavored stuff, and this time of year is perfect for apple things. So I'm a big fan of that. But like, hell, give me both. I'm hardcore. I'll take them both. Give me apple. Give me pumpkin. Let's go.
I did just stop by the grocery store on Friday, and I got some apples. They had apple cider at the grocery store, so I grabbed some apple cider. I'm very excited. Had a little bit this weekend, but excited to have more because I'm a big apple cider guy.
Oh yeah, apple cider rules. I'm also just realizing this week is not the week to be quoting Tommy Dreamer, but too late.
Yes. You're not wrong about that.
Hey, at least I'm not talking about ponytails or some shit. Either way, pumpkins, apples, they're all good. The fall is here almost.
Yes, this podcast is decidedly pro pumpkin and pro apple.
Yep. You can be both. It's okay.
So, coming up over the next 2 weeks, the first thing is once again with Stardom, we have a show that will have aired by the time this podcast comes out, but has not aired quite yet. That's a show on tomorrow, the 20th, which will be today when you listen to this. That has 6 matches, 6 5-star matches, I should say. Mayu Iwatani and Saki Kashima, Momo Watanabe against Starlight Kid, Koguma against Fukigen Death, Utami against Takumi Iroha, Shuri against Ruaka, and Konami against Azumi. Kelly, any of those matches stick out to you?
Konami versus Azumi really stands out. That should be cool. And then Momo versus Starlight Kid should be really good too. And then, of course, Utami versus... I keep looking like, okay, no, this is the best one. Oh, wait, no, this one's better. Like, Utami versus Iroha should be awesome, too. That's a good lineup.
And a lot of high stakes. We'll talk about the standings in a few minutes, but a lot of high stakes matches here in terms of points, finishes. Some people high up on the cards, or I should say high up in the points here. Momo Watanabe and Starlight Kid currently in the top 2, or sort of top 4, I should say, in their block. Mayu Iwatani up high, Utami and Iroha. Big contenders, Shuri. So lots that can be changed in the standings here with some of these matches. Of course, the closer you get to the end, the more clear it sort of becomes as people win, lose, or draw their matches, who sort of has the chance going into that big last day, which is on the 25th.
Remember a few weeks ago when I was like, oh, what's with this weird schedule? There's these shows with like 2 or 3 matches, and then all those shows got canceled, and all those matches got moved to these shows, and now there's a billion matches every show, and there's so much, and I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, it was a smart strategy to spread them out, and unfortunately, in the weird world we're currently living in, they got caught out. It was, well spread out. It's good that they have the ability to sort of move this stuff around. It's not, to me personally, I don't blame anyone for this. It's not ideal to have so many, matches on these cards, as we've talked about, but they've sort of done the best with the hand that they were dealt, unfortunately. So,
yeah,
can't really blame anyone.
Yeah, looking back, the planning is kind of great, because it's like, all right, we have all these buffer shows in case something goes wrong. Like, that was really smart.
Which may have been exactly why they planned it the way they did, saying, hey, there's a good chance that something, especially with Iroha coming from, Marvelous, you don't really know what's going to happen there. So, smartly, if that is what they did, that was obviously a smart decision, because it has paid off in the way that this has played out.
Yeah, or it was just Rossi's magic sheep bones that he scattered across the calendar and just gave him the right numbers.
Yes, it could always be. It can always be that. Also happening in the last 2 weeks, not a ton going on. Oz Academy had another show on September 12th. Yu defeated Sayori Ano to become the number 1 contender for the Oz Openweight title. That was the big match coming out of that show. Tokyo Joshi had some smaller shows, but Miyu Yamashita defeated Yuki Aino on September 11th in a singles match main event. The story, as we talked about in the previous episode, is Aino had pinned Yamashita in a tag match. Maki Ito had talked about wanting to face Yamashita at her full strength. So this a little bit of a continuation of that story of Yamashita getting that win back on Aino as we get closer to Wrestle Princess, which will be coming up in the next few weeks. Sendai Girls had a show on September 12th, as did Diana. Had a show at their dojo with a Ayako Sato against Haruka Umasaki main event. Actress Girls had a show on September 11th as well. Saki defending her colors title successfully against Momo Kogo and Rina Amakura. And Pure J, the new tag team champions, Cherry and Leon, successfully defended their tag titles against Kaori Yonayama and Kazuki. So that is everything that has been going on the last 2 weeks. Obviously, dominated the news cycle is the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix, and they will continue to do that for at least another week as they have the show on the 20th, a show on the 23rd, and then the big final show on September 25th at Ota Ward Gymnasium. The 23rd has only 3 5-star matches: Koguma against Mina Shirakawa, Himika against Saki Kashima, and Utami against Ruaka. The 25th, a loaded show. Saki Kashima against Fukigen Death, Natsupoi against Mina Shirakawa, Koguma against Himika, Mayu Iwatani against Starlight Kid, Azumi against Ruaka, Unagi Sayaka against Saya Kamatani, Maika against Konami, Utami against Tam Nakano, Syuri against Takumi Iroha, and then to cap it off, the winner of the blue block will face off against the winner of the red block in the main event to determine the winner of the 5-Star Grand Prix. The current standings, as they are right now, again, before the September 20th show, in the Red Stars block, at the top with 10 points, Momo Watanabe. 3 people tied with 9 points, Starlight Kid, Mayu Iwatani, and Natsupoi. Koguma is at 7 points. Himika, Julia, and Fukigen Death at 6 points. One thing we didn't talk about, Julia out with an injury. She will be forfeiting the rest of her matches. So my bold prediction that Julia would be winning the 5-Star Grand Prix last episode looks very stupid.
I mean, now it'll be even bigger surprise if it happens.
Yeah, that's right. Although looking at the way that these cards are set up and laid out, I would not have been surprised because I believe on the 25th show, the original planned match was going to be Julia against Momo Watanabe. So I would not have been surprised if Julia would have been a big factor, at least until the last day, and maybe beat Momo to win the block. As I just said, Momo currently in the lead of the block. So I'm going to stick to that. No one can prove me wrong because we'll never know what would have happened had she stayed healthy. And at the bottom of that block, 4 points, Mina Shirakawa and Saki Kashima down at 2 points. In the Blue Stars standings, Saya Kamatani at the top of the block with 11 points, Konami at 10, Takumi Iroha and Syuri at 9, Tam Nakano at 8, Utami and Maika and Unagi Sayaka at 7, Azumi all the way down at 4 points, and poor Ruaka, the only person in the entire tournament to have scored 0 points. So Kelly, you predicted, I believe, last time that this would somehow come out that Syuri would be the next challenger. Do you still stand by that? Looking at these standings, looking at what's coming up, have your thoughts changed? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I think, yeah. I think that's the plan. I don't know how you get there from these standings, though. Because my guess is that in Blue Stars, it's going to come down to on the 25th that the Utami versus Tom match is going to decide the block somehow. I don't know if you can get there mathematically. I mean, I'm sure you can, but I don't know. So that's my guess. Red block, I think Momo has to win at this point because she's going to be at 12 points on that final night, no matter what happens on the show tomorrow, because she's getting those 2 points from the Julia match that was supposed to happen. So like I don't know if anyone would catch her, though. Starlight Kid, maybe? if you have Starlight Kid win the match tomorrow, and then, well, she wouldn't tie with Momo. Yeah, I think Momo comes out of the red block.
Yeah, I'm also looking at it now, and I'm like, okay, the 25th, probably the match you have lined up for the winner. You're not going to sell the show based on it because people aren't going to know who it is until it happens. So I'm like, I'm like looking at the matches being like, okay, what would matches that would draw? But I'm like, that's sort of out the window because the people will already be in the building. Like I was like, oh, you could do a Mayu. Because if Mayu wins on the 20th, she's at 11 points. And then if she beats Starlight Kid, because that would also be the storyline of, Mayu had the 1 versus 5 match. She wanted Starlight Kid back. Starlight Kid was like, no, I won't come back. And this is the moment of like, Mayu beats Starlight Kid, keeps her out of the finals, goes to the finals herself, and that's sort of the triumphant babyface, like, she did it. Moment. I also think you can beat Mayu in the finals with a lot of people. Like, would they do a Roha Iwatani and then do a Roha Utami at Osaka-jo Hall?
Maybe. Because they have been booking Aroha strong. Like she's always booked pretty high up on the card. Like they treat her like she's a drawing star for them. So like that wouldn't surprise me if they go that route.
Yeah, but they have Utami against Aroha on the 20th show. And I'm like, I guess they could go to a time limit draw.
Yeah.
Because that would get Aroha to 10 points. And then Aroha beats Shuri. And Sayaka Matani gets upset by Unagi Sayaka on the last day. And that's sort of Sayaka's nice send-off. She's at 7 points, so she's not totally out of it.
She's
but
not
that
doing
would
bad.
Be her sort of nice, like, because obviously, as we've seen from the booking, they really like Sayaka. So I could see, then you have the story of like Kamatani did really well, 11 points, but didn't quite make it. Sayaka started out hot, sort of fell off a little bit, but then got it back at the end. And then I guess you could do a Roha. I guess you could do it twice if you do a time limit draw. But does a time limit? If you do a time limit draw, aren't you like, oh yeah, Aroha's winning? Why else would they have done a time?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's exciting that there's so many people who are sort of still in this going into the final.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing,
I mean, really,
Red Star is what really screws it up now is Momo being at 12 points no matter what.
Right. Well, and I think, like I said, I think I'm right about that Julia Momo match the last day being the big. Like, Momo's at a lot of points. Julia's right behind her. Maybe they're tied or something, or maybe Julia's slightly ahead or whatever. But that being a big thing. But I just don't, to me, I don't see Starlight Kid going to the finals unless she's going to win it. And I just don't know that I
think it's too early.
Yes. Like, it's like, okay, Starlight Kid goes through. Who does she face that she then would have to beat? And I don't know if wouldn't be a Tommy, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're doing that with a Roha like Konami. Is that really, I don't know. I'm sort of, I'm up in the air on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it would be it would be kind of funny to have the two block leaders are both from Wado Tai, and also the two at the bottom from each block are Wado Tai.
Well, it looks like the bottom of the blocks are going to be Oedo Tai. That seems pretty secure. Unless Saki Kashima beats Mayu Iwatani, which, as we've seen, can happen because Saki Kashima can seemingly pull out a win at the most unexpected times. So, But that is on the next show. I'm sure we will be covering the big Ota Ward show. That will be the big show. That show is going to be on the usual Stardom pay-per-view, and then I'm sure it will be put on Stardom World a few days after it, as it has been in the past. Also, Stardom has two shows on October 2nd and October 3rd. Those will be the first post 5-star shows. They will be the shows right before the Osaka-jo Hall show. Nothing announced for those shows, obviously, because there's still a lot to sort out with the 5-star stuff. But those shows may give us the direction of some of those matches. And we will be previewing that big Osaka-jo show on the next episode.
And if you're listening to this and it's directly after the 920 show and you know exactly what's going to happen, yes, we know we're big, dumb, and stupid. All right, fine. You know the future. Haha, good for you.
I already got it out of the way being so wrong about Julia last week. So now I'm playing with house money because I'm like, well, there went my smart prediction that no one can ever tell me that isn't what was going to happen.
Exactly. No, you kind of lucked out that way.
Yeah, but not the only things happening. Those shows, not the only things happening in Joshi. SEAdLINNG has a big show coming up in a few days on the 22nd with a Beyond the Sea title match and tag title match. Asuka and Makoto taking on Nanai Takahashi and Hiroyo Matsumoto for the tag titles, and Ryo Mizunami taking on Yu for the Beyond the Sea title. Also on that show, Rina Yamashita and Arisa Nakajima teaming up to face Hanako Nakamori and Tsukasa Fujimoto. So best friends explodes in a way here. And Riko Kawahata and Yumika Hoda team up to take on Ayame Sasamura and Riko Kaiju. So that should be a really fun show, a big show with two title matches for SEAdLINNG. Yu has returned to the Joshi scene and is taking it by storm with now a Oz title match coming up, a Beyond the Sea title match. So keeping very busy.
Was she hurt?
Yeah, she was injured. I don't remember what her exact injury was, but she was injured because she was often used sort of in this position before. I was actually talking on Twitter. It was sort of like she got injured and Itsuki Aoki sort of filled in her position of like the person who seemingly comes in everywhere and gets title shots everywhere and doesn't necessarily win, but it's like, oh, we need some sort of like holdover challenger. And I felt like for a long time it was like, it's you. And then she got injured, and then it was Aoki, and now Yu's back, and it's you again. Getting these title matches. I don't think she's going to win the Beyond the Sea title. I think that's going to remain with Mizunami, at least for a little bit longer, until maybe she has to go back to AEW or wants to go back to AEW. So, yeah, but she was out. I think she was out for quite a while.
Yeah, like in all honesty, I kind of forgot about her, and then I suddenly see her start popping up. It's like, oh yeah, you.
She's a Pro Wrestling Eve superstar. You. I think that's her. I think that's her build home promotion is Pro Wrestling Eve.
I think so. Yeah.
Which is always funny to me. Stay out of England. Nothing good happens there. Wrestling wise, don't get mad at me. Anyway, also, Tokyo Joshi has two small shows on September 20th and 22nd as they build towards Wrestle Princess. Sendai Girls has a show on the 20th, which will have happened by the time this airs, with a tag title match in the main event, the champions Rin Katakura and Mio Momono against Mika Iwata and Manami. That should be a fun match. Actress Girls also has a tag title match on their September 25th show. Kakeru Sakaguchi and Miku Aono against the Momos, Momotani and Momokogo. And Diana has a show, not a dojo show, but a show at Yokohama Radiant Hall. The big match that sticks out to me, at least, is Haruka Umasaki against Mei Saruga. That should be a very fun match. Two very similar style wrestlers. Marvelous has a show on September 22nd as they continue to move into this new phase of Marvelous with some of their talent having left a few weeks ago.
Have they said
Wave
what
and
this new thing is yet, or are we still waiting on the announcement of their newness?
I don't know that they have. If they did, I didn't see it. It would have had to come on, they would have had to announce it at the show, and I didn't see it on Twitter.
Okay.
But it may have happened. I know that they were supposed to have an AAAW title match between Chihiro Hashimoto and Takumi Iroha on October 1st, which was postponed. And in the announcement where they said it was postponed, they talked about, we're still working on this sort of new marvelous system or whatever they're calling it. So they still may sort of be thinking about what's going to happen moving forward. I hope that match happens because I was very excited for that match.
Yeah, that match sounds awesome.
With the big new titles and, of course, two of the best workers in Joshi. So hopefully that match happens sooner rather than later. And then the last thing, Marvelous and Wave are teaming up on October 1st for Tommy, the referees, 40th anniversary show. So that should be fun. Tommy, a beloved part of the Joshi scene.
Is that AEW Star Tommy?
It is AEW Star Tommy, who was the ref for the AEW Women's International, what was it called? Women's Tournament.
Something like that, yeah.
Sure. I think International Women's Tournament sounds better than whatever they called it. And I'm sticking by that. But that is everything that is happening in the next 2 weeks. The big thing for our next episode will be, of course, that big Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix show at Ota Ward on September 25th. That will wrap up our many, many weeks of 5-Star Grand Prix coverage. So, Kelly, is there anything we didn't cover?
Nothing springs to mind. Outside of the billions and billions of Stardom matches, it feels like it's been kind of light lately. But we
I
need
think
that sometimes.
And some promotions, I think, choosing to maybe, as the summer comes to an end, choosing to slow down a bit, and with all these 5-Star Grand Prix shows, maybe choosing to take it light. But I will say, I know that coming up next episode, we will be previewing the big Osaka Joe show for Stardom. We'll be previewing Wrestle Princess 2. So coming up pretty soon in October, we're going to have a lot of big shows to talk about.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll have a bigger breakdown of that Tokyo Joshi card, but it came out the other day and it looks pretty good. I'm excited.
They have been pretty good, especially with bigger shows at really stacking the cards and delivering. They've really delivered on every big show that they've had this year, so I expect nothing less from their biggest show of the year.
I'm kind of worried about Tokyo Joshi. It not because of them, but because they've announced like a new Wrestle universe. And I'm like, I finally got the new update you guys made. It now works perfectly for me. I never worry about buffering or anything. Don't screw it up. Please do not change the website again. It works.
That's interesting because when I first got Wrestle Universe, when it was pretty much just DDT, I had buffering issues like on every show I watched. And that was back when I used to watch like every DDT show.
Yeah.
And every DDT show had buffering problems. To the point where I was like, this is just going to be my life, that I just have buffering problems forever. And then seemingly they just went away, and I've never had an issue with the site since then. So it's interesting to hear that now you have buffering problems.
Well, no, now I don't, which is good. But I'm worried if they change it, then I will. Because once they got those new video players in, it was like, oh my god, everything works perfect. Holy shit! Please never change.
We're changing.
No.
Well, hopefully we'll only get better and not work, moving forward and not backwards.
Like, all right, guys, everything's on Nico Pro now. We've given up on Wrestle Universe.
Oh gosh, please don't put that out in the universe. Wow, what a way to end the episode.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
Yes. My name is Taylor. For Kelly, this has been another episode of Jumping Bomb Audio, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.